Hey guys, welcome back to Better Biomed. I know I didn't announce this one and I just kind of ran across this today and I really wanted to show some stuff to you guys and share this because maybe you should know what's inside some of these components. But anyway, let's see. I'll give a few minutes if some other people want to join in. I'm going to go over just a few things that I ran into recently, very recently, and maybe I'll take some questions and we'll see what you guys want to talk about. So I'll give it a couple minutes, and I got to straighten up my work area here. I know I got a whole bunch of wood up here because I've been doing a lot of woodworking lately, harvesting fallen trees from the woods because of the storms. And unfortunately, I think I broke my thumb because I had a large piece of this guy over here on the bandsaw, and curved objects on a bandsaw naturally want to rotate and grab the blade, and that's exactly what happened. I thought I had a pretty good grip on it, and I was going to shave a little piece off, and it flung around and it smashed my hand against the fence and against the base plate, and I've got a slight crack in my thumb now, so I got to be very careful. But that's the hazards of taking up hazardous hobbies, I guess. But yeah, oh my gosh, guys. I don't know if you know this, but if you guys are ever hanging around people that handle operating room tooling, they have some of the coolest stuff you ever seen. And some of the stuff is really applicable for us. Now take a look at these cutters right here. Now these are like miniature bolt cutters, and that's pretty much what they are, only a little bit beefier. These are stainless steel pin cutters. They use them in surgery if they're going to cut off pins or screws. So they have carbide insert jaws, and it's just beautiful. These are what, made in Germany? Yeah, made in Germany. And believe it or not, a lot of these type of objects, for whatever reason, the operating room staff will throw them out on occasion. Now this one's perfect. There's no chips in the carbides or anything, so these ones were just sitting in a junk drawer, and I nabbed them as soon as I seen them because this is such a win. You just got to be careful because it's got this bump stop right here, and that could really take out some skin if you're cutting something and you're too close. But these are some beefy little tools. And mind you, a lot of this stuff is just thrown out by operating rooms. I don't even know why. Maybe they switch brands or something, but they do. They throw this stuff out. Here's a set of well, I guess you can call them vice grips from Germany. But just the fit and finish and the quality of these things, because these are sterile when they hit the operating room, there's very few nooks and crannies compared to like generic tooling. You can see it, they're nicely riveted, beautiful satin finish. I'll tell you what, I appreciate fine tools, I really do. The screw, there's no slop in the screw, and it's got a really nice tight thread. Man, these are beautiful. And yeah, they've got little micro jaws right there. I love that. Big relief handle. Sometimes the handle is really pushed up in there. It's hard. It's kind of a pain in the butt to get to, but not on these ones. Look at that. So just to let you guys know, get in touch with your people that do operating rooms and see if they're throwing out any old tooling, because I have some killer stuff that I nabbed from operating rooms. Let's see what else I got. Oh yes, there are some winners. Any biomed will tell you that around the operating rooms and around maxillofacial surgical, they have picks, and they have every type of pick and burrs. You want to talk high quality burrs? If you have like a Dremel, like I got one right here, Dental has some of the coolest stuff, and they'll always throw out stuff like burrs. And maybe the burrs aren't even bad, but they opened them up, because a lot of their burrs come brand new in packages. And anybody that's hung around Dental has seen this stuff just laying around. They just throw it out after a while. But all these types of picks, they're stainless steel, best of the best quality. And some of them are even, I think they're titanium. They're non-magnetic, oddly lightweight, but use picks for all sorts of stuff, and you can nab them from dental. I mean, all good biomeds know that. Let's see. Anyway, let's get back to what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk to you guys about switching mechanisms, and I ran into this interesting guy right here with a centrifuge today. I know, right? Me and centrifuges lately. But you take what you can get. And this is a special switch. It's not just a regular switch. If you can see, let's see if the camera can pick it up. I know my lighting's not the greatest in here. That I hope to mend really soon. Let's see. We have enough flashlights for any 3 people. Let's see. There you can see it. Okay. So you can see when I'm activating it, so it goes back and forth. You can see the contacts, which are right here. See those little pads? That's your contacts. But this switch has a very special feature. This switch is a thermally protected, it's a 2-pole single throw. So 2-pole means that I can switch both hot and negative, or hot and neutral, my bad, or positive, negative. You can switch them both at the same time. So that's why you got 2 pins here and 2 pins here. You have your common and you have your switch. And this is unlike a lot of other switches because normally you'll have pins for your normally open and normally closed, but a lot of these larger power switches, they only have normally open. So I have common, normally open, and take a look at this. Let's see if I can really pick it up without. So if you see right here, I've got some stainless steel pieces that look like they're going in a zigzag pattern. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up too well. That's a shame too. I know I need better lighting. People always trying to call me, man. So the stainless steel piece right here, this guy right there, this guy, what it does is when it's switched on, which you can see right there, what it does is this will expand. If you guys know, when you have 2 different types of metal and you pass a current through them, depending on their thermal expansion or their stretching, it happens at different amperages based on the material and the thickness. So what happens with this guy, if it's switched on and this little stainless steel piece right here expands, it will hit it and it'll reset it. Why is that important? Well, let me tell you. Today, I didn't think too much of it. I had another resetting. And that's the other thing. Oh, my stupid phone. So you can hear that it's not a real positive latch when you turn it on, and it feels a little jello-y. That's how you know it's a thermally protected switch. Because the other types of switches, it's just a clunk, 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 clunk. This one here feels a little odd when you latch it on. And that's because it's got that extra mechanism in there that trips it, like that. But anyway, back to the story. I was working on a centrifuge today, and this switch here, you can see it exploded right out of its casing. And when that happened, I just went and found another one. And I found another one that meet the same amount of amperage, and I put it in a centrifuge. And as that centrifuge got up to speed, it's obviously pulling more current, and it tripped. Every time it would get up to around 2,000 RPMs, it would trip this power switch. And of course, I did a little bit of deep diving in on the data sheet for these guys. And this guy here is set for like 15 or 20 amps. And the one that I had installed was set for 10 amps at the thermally protected, not the capacity of the switch. It's the thermally protection, the thermal protection level. This one's set at like 10 amps. or this one's set at 15 or 20 amps. The one that I installed is 10 amps. And that's why it kept tripping every time it gets up around 10 amps. That little piece of stainless steel right there, this little guy right here under that plastic arm, it expands. And when it expands, it pushes up on that plastic arm, and that causes it to shut off, which is very similar to how circuit breakers work in your house. They're based on expansion, based on heat that's caused because of the amount of current. And that's what happens is current goes through this little guy right here. It causes it to expand, which makes it bend upwards, and it resets it. So I messed up today. I installed the wrong power switch into a centrifuge, and it was the correct amount of current. I mean, this is rated for what, 20 amps or so. The other one's rated for 20 amps, but it was thermally protected at 10 amps. So enough with that beating a dead horse. You guys recognize one of these guys? I'm sure you do. These little guys right here, this is a thermal fuse. And I highly suggest if you work on warming cabinets or whatever, put one of these in your bag. I got busted on this today. I think I still have one in my bag someplace, but it's not in my parts kit. I don't know if you guys know, but I keep a bag full of parts. I got like micro switches and some crimp connectors and stuff, maybe even some fuse holders. I should keep one of these thermal fuses in there. This thermal fuse, I believe, goes to a Steris warming cabinet. And let's see, on its side, it's not so rated in amps. It's rated in degrees centigrade. So this one, it will pop at 110 degrees C, and it's inscribed right here on the front face. I need to keep one of these in my tool bag. I'm pretty sure I do, but I just couldn't find it. That's bad on me. I should have my stuff a little more organized, and unfortunately, I wasn't prepared. Can you guys hear me? Hey, Riley, can you hear me? Is this coming through okay? Okay. My little thingamabobber down here isn't showing anything, so all right. It would be the first time that I sat here and I talked endlessly to myself. How stupid, but I know. Anyway, is soldering something new? A new BMET does? Well, let me tell you a matter of fact. Some of the guys that are probably going to watch this know from my history, especially around this time of the year, I would go around and I would hand out those do-it-yourself soldering kits, which would be like, I don't know, a do-it-yourself light up Christmas tree or a little piano. There's a whole bunch of these different kits, and every single year I go around and I hand these out to the technicians, especially the younger technicians, because I think it's an absolute critical skill. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people out there that think you're crazy for even opening up a soldering iron. And I'll tell you right now, those are the expendable biomeds. Those are the people that ship stuff out. They're the minimum, all right? And yes, some new biomeds, it depends on what your specialty is. It depends on what you're going to be doing. But yeah, I mean, I encourage soldering for all people. Hell, there's even some AC in plates where the wires come from the OEM soldered to the AC in plate. And if you want to rewire your whole table, then fine. Or you can just buy the AC in plate, the exact same one, without the wire soldered to it. And then you just solder them as they're coming out of the table, straight to the AC in plate with shrink tube, of course. But guys, I'll tell you, man, soldering, I highly suggest you guys touch up on it. And I do so many of these little do-it-yourself soldering kits. I've handed out dozens of them, literally. And it's just a fun thing to do this time of year, around Christmas time. I was just, some of my coworkers that hopefully don't see this video, I go through and I do a lot of stuff. Christmas is my time of the year, guys. And I go through and I decorate the shops. Middle of the night, I come in and I will hang stuff from the ceiling all over the shops. And I do it, if you guys are familiar with the drop ceilings, I just I dangle a little piece of monofilament, which is really thin fishing line, and I'll attach an ornament or some sort of decoration, and I'll push the paper clip under the lip of the drop ceiling. I'll push up the tile a little bit and push the paper clip in, and that will hold it. And if you ever have a fire or something, the monofilament will just melt and your ornament will drop to the down to the ground, Or if somebody complains, you are not taping something to the ceiling, which is a big no-no in every hospital. And if anything, if somebody has a problem, you can just pluck your paper clips out and press on, they can shove off, right? But I love Christmas, and this is my time of the year to be handing out those little soldering kits to people. And that's it's definitely a fun thing. What's my opinion on agility? Ooh, boy. Oh man, that's going to be an interesting one. I've worked with agility, specifically at the hospital I'm currently at. Agility was there when we came in. I came to this job in January, and agility was there. They got replaced with Crothall in June. It was in June. And with any company, it's all up to the people. It really is. And some of the people that worked for agility were awesome. Absolutely awesome. And they're nerds like you and me, just the same. They love fixing stuff. They're just nerds, but they're nerds to the machine. And every single time you have a company that is contracted, they're always chasing numbers. They're always chasing numbers because they promised the world to the hospital, and they're always chasing numbers. So that's something you got to watch. I really could go off on contracted management and just contracting in general. I'll tell you right now, my dream hospital is a smaller hospital that is probably about 300 beds, and it would be all in-house. And I would run that like a champ if I had that opportunity. But yeah, man, it's contracted. I mean, biomeds, clinical engineers, regardless of who you work for, there's some cool people in our career field. There's a lot of really cool people. And, while somebody's working for agility now, you have to remember that in just a year or two, they could be working alongside you at a hospital, either as your manager or as a coworker or something. We're a very small career field. Don't piss a bunch of people off. I know I'm probably a hypocrite for saying that, but guys, don't piss a bunch of people off in this career field. I am telling you, this is not that big of a career field, and people know people. I know people in almost every state. I guarantee it. And I've had such a luxury of knowing some of these very cool biomeds, especially in the military. And yeah, guys, Trimedics is, I think they're the same thing, man. It's eventually they're going to be chasing numbers, and I honestly, I don't ever see a contracted management or biomed program as a permanent solution. That's not. It's usually a knee-jerk reaction that the hospital's having to try and solve some sort of problem. Like they'll have some sort of senior biomeds retire, and they're like, "Oh gosh, what do we do? Let's contract it out." Or usually, the way that biomed ends up third party is the hospital buys into, like Sodexo and some of these other companies. They'll come in and they'll start with the food service or the laundry and the housekeeping, and then they're like, "Tell you what, we do biomed too. We'll sell it to you. We'll make you a good deal." And it always comes off sounding fantastic. Hospitals are some of the biggest suckers. Hospitals love costs that are predictable. So when they start saying, "Yeah, you just pay me $26 million a year, and the only thing we'll charge you for is user damage," it sounds good initially, but hospitals always get burned. Every single time, hospitals get burned from contracting stuff. So that's Trimedics, that's GE, that's everybody. But I have met some really cool people. So never hold it against the people. I've met some awesome people in every single branch. Trimedics, Agility. Everybody's got some good stuff that they do. I would give it to GE though, because GE will train you for sure. Now the other companies, I'm not so sure about. I've heard some good stories and bad stories. But one thing's for sure, if you work for somebody like GE or Philips, they will train you. And you might have to sign a work commitment, but you better get ready to do some training, because those guys, that's what they do, is they train their guys up. True story. I heard a manager say to a biomed that he was talking about what he does, every day. And he says, well, I'm trying to learn this. And he was cut off mid-sentence when he's saying, I'm trying to learn something. He says, I don't need you to learn stuff. I need you to just do PMs. I kid you not. That conversation happened. Guys, how are you doing your PMs if you don't learn your equipment? Given your PMs are an excellent chance to learn your equipment, but if somebody's going to sit there and train like I do, I love training people and I love making them fully capable technicians. For a manager to sit back and say, I don't need you to learn, I need you to just do PMs. Oh my gosh, that's a nail in the coffin, guys. If your manager ever says that to you, you need to start looking for work elsewhere. That's guaranteed. Look for work someplace else if they ever say that to you, man. And I could not believe that happened. But trust me, guys, if I could tell you some of the other stuff that I've seen, especially lately, just some crazy stuff, guys, crazy stuff. But you are absolutely right, Matthew. Old school biomeds definitely did solder more, and that's because they got full schematics of everything, and they would routinely go through and resolder boards and stuff like that. It did happen, and they used to sell components. If you needed, let's say, a current detect transformer or something, they used to sell that to you, as a labeled part. And they've obviously migrated away from that to the point where we are now at this world of just send it into the manufacturer. And that might be a good thing in some ways, and in other ways it's definitely not. But one thing's for sure, keep your eyes out there, guys, because with this new legislation that passed in Massachusetts, they're talking about right to repair. It is gaining momentum. It's something that a lot of people laughed about for a long time, and I'm telling you right now, right to repair, it is going to affect different industries, and medical might be one of the last ones, because obviously the medical equipment companies are going to fight that tooth and nail, and they're going to give every single reason under the sun why we are completely incompetent as technicians. And in some ways that's true. And I mean, we've all seen those biomeds that honestly shouldn't even be allowed to plug a piece of equipment in. And so they're out there. But oh man, yeah, definitely they used to change out components. Man, I've gotten in trouble at the last hospital and at this hospital for desoldering things like encoders. Now, if you guys didn't know, there's rotary dials on the front of equipment. And if you ever have a rotary dial that doesn't have like a limit, like you spin it like 90 degrees and it stops, and then you spin it the other way and it stops. If it just keeps on spinning, 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 it's attached to an encoder. And those rotary encoders, they do go bad. And it's one of those things where you're spinning it clockwise and all of a sudden it starts going down, and you spin it really fast and all of a sudden it starts going up. Encoders do go bad and they should be changed out. And it's something that every single one of you guys can do. You can desolder an encoder. You can look up the part number. Hell, you can look at a data sheet and find, I took apart an encoder on this one device, and I showed one of my biomeds how to look at the encoder discs, the contact pads, and count how many contacts there are, and look at the data sheet and figure out what he's looking at. And he was able to just take apart the back of the encoder and figure out what part it was he needed to order based on the data sheet breakdown. It is possible, guys. Are you provided tools from your first job? Man, well, I'll tell you, Riley, for a fact, if you go into the military, you will be granted tools. And you're expected to carry those tools until the day you die or retire, one or the other. So, as far as normal biomed jobs, man, if you want to sit there and deal with it, then sure, you can ask your boss and go down that path. My experience is I always get the dirty workbench whenever I go into a new shop. I don't know why people are just that low class. But not only do I get the dirty workbench, but I get like the random bag of tools. And I'm not just talking any tools. I'm talking like, you know, those old school screwdrivers that have like all the different hex heads that come in and out of it and stuff. And you're missing half of them, or you only have standard, but you don't have metric, stuff like that. Man, if you want to deal with having partial toolkits, fine, go right ahead. But I would, if not, petition to get a brand new tool set when you go there, and just pick out the stuff you need, like metric and standard hex, Allen's, just regular simple screwdriver set, a regular plier set, a hammer. Make sure you get a multimeter, stuff like that. Just keep it simple, guys, and eventually you get to have like a whole bunch of tools. Like I got stacked up over there, man. I got so many tools, it's insane. But I rely on those tools, and they have saved my keister. They've saved my hospital's keister many times because I have the right tool for the right job when it was needed. But man, yeah, provided tools. Oh, that's such a sore topic. Would be that's the whole reason why I moved into having my own toolkit. Do you guys recognize one of these? You ever seen one of these before? This is called the Mercury contactor. You'll find these in warming cabinets, sometimes sterilizers, other things that have high current draw that turn on and off like heaters. And this is a very unique little device. It is a hazardous waste. It does have mercury inside it, but what a cool little device. Now, I don't know if the camera is going to pick this up, but I wanted to try and show you guys what is going on here. Of course, my lighting's gonna, I got to do something about the lighting here, guys. So anyway, this is basically what you're looking at in this configuration. You have a switched contact, you have a common contact, just like a regular relay, and you have a pool of mercury, which is that heavy sloshing that's going on inside. And you see this really wide base? It looks like a solenoid because it is a solenoid. And that's this coil right here. So you have a switching coil, just like with a regular relay, you have a switching coil. And what happens is when you turn on this coil, it pulls a slug down into the mercury bath, and it displaces the mercury, and the mercury will come up and touch the switch. Why would they use mercury? Well, if you guys are familiar with regular contacts, like this one right here. Oh, gosh. I'm so sorry, guys. I'll tell you right now that the lighting is going to be fixed by the time I do this again. This is insane. I've redone all the lighting in this garage, and for whatever reason, right over my workbench, I never put a light. I don't know. Anyway, so what happens is when you energize the coil, it pulls a mercury slug down into the mercury. It pulls a metal slug down into the mercury, displaces the mercury up here to the tip where you can see you've got this point and this point. The mercury joins those two contacts and it switches it on. The reason that you want to use one of these is because mercury is a liquid conductor. And unlike these type of relays, if you've ever had a stuck relay or a burned out relay, it's because your contacts will sit there and get burned. You probably can't see it. Right here underneath these two tabs is some tiny, tiny little contacts. And what happens is every time those contacts make or break connection, they spark a little bit, and it causes a little bit of carbon buildup. And sometimes, depending on the load, you'll get soldered legs, or there'll be enough carbon there where they won't completely make contact. So you either have a relay that's permanently soldered together in an always on configuration, or you'll hear it go click, 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 and it doesn't fully click all the way down. This solves that problem because Mercury creates a new contact point every single time it touches, because there's no 2 points that are commonly getting burned. And if you don't know, when you have 2 electrical points and they're constantly touching, those will develop wear patterns. Whereas this is liquid metal, it doesn't do that. So this is a liquid contactor. They use them often in like sterilizers, Steris heating cabinets and stuff like that. And the reason being is because this will be switching mains to the heating element usually. And the heating element is a massive current draw. And if you're pulling like 10, 20 amps and you're cycling on and off to maintain a temperature, well, that's a high load that you're switching constantly, and that will blow up a regular relay. So they use this guy, a Mercury contactor. And just like all other components, you can look up its ratings, which are right here on the side, or you can pull a data sheet based on the part number, and you can see what its switching voltage is and its resistance and stuff like that. Now that is a very good segue into the next thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, the types of regular relays. So relays come in 3 types, okay? So you have AC switching relays, which means when you apply an AC field, they will switch on or latch on. You have DC relays, and then you have something called CMOS relays. Now, a CMOS relay is very special, and if you do hobby electronics, they're very, very fun, because CMOS relays will trigger with tiny, tiny amounts of voltage, like 1 volt to 3 volts, which is what CMOS is. They call it logic level relays, because a regular computer chip works on 1 volt to 3 volts, and when it says 1 or 0, you know, on or off, that 1 can actually trigger a relay and tell it to turn on. I have so much cool stuff. Here's a perfect example of that from another kit. I actually have another video on a different channel where I did this a long time ago. These are all CMOS relays, logic level relays. And you can see they're hooked up in a weird configuration, because I use this one to power a Power Wheels with remote control. So what I have here is, here's a little board. This came out of a little toy RC car. I kid you not, a little toy RC car. Right there's the antenna. And what it does is it comes in here to the inputs, and it turns these on or off with its own voltage, which is only what, 1.5 volts maybe. And a lot of people didn't believe me it was possible, and I said, sure, I can take any toy car, you can take it apart, and you can use it to control relays that will switch on or off a bigger load. So what these ones here did is they would switch forward and reverse for a 12-volt battery or 24-volt power supply. And that's how I was able to control the RC and the Power Wheels. My kids had a crazy growing up, let me tell you. They were like my guinea pigs for all this stupid stuff that I would do. And these are, it's a relay module for our Arduino. And if you ever want to like play around with electronics, type in like Arduino kit or Arduino parts, and you can find all these little pre-made modules that have like screw down terminals, just like this. And you can use this to experiment and improve your own electronics. But that's it, a CMOS relay. It's logic level. It's switched on and off using minute voltages from the circuit board itself. Oh man, I got so much cool stuff. I wish I could show you guys. I actually have drawers full of parts right down here. I've got everything from like little project boxes. Oh, man. I've got industrial electronics. As you guys know, I build CNCs as a hobby, so I keep a lot of that stuff around. This is a larger relay. This might make it a little more recognizable. A lot of guys that do X-ray are probably very familiar with these stupid things. They burn out all the time, but I dissected it to maybe get you guys a better view of what's going on. And then I realized that my lighting sucks over here. So again, guys, I am so sorry for that. Yeah, you guys probably all identified this guy correctly. This is a standard micro switch, all right? It's standard because it has not only a common, but it has a normally open and normally closed terminal. These come in all sorts of different lengths of armature, and some of them will have rollers where they interact with a bar or something. But anyway, I keep some of these micro switches in my tool bag all the time because these stupid things right here will make or break your day. You know, they go bad in all sorts of devices, all sorts of detectors. Stupid micro switches, man. I was going to dissect this hard drive for you guys, but this is for all you biomeds that are getting new to the industry. One thing that you guys will experience is data preservation versus HIPAA compliance. All right. This is probably one of the toughest things I've had to deal with as a biomed, is that you have to be HIPAA compliant when you turn over a device to a non-OEM entity. So if you sell the device or if you turn it into the warehouse, you have to pull the hard drives and you have to destroy them properly. Every hospital has a different procedure for this, but I'll tell you right now, the guaranteed good procedure is to go ahead and smash the hell out of this thing with a hammer or drill a bunch of holes in the platter. Just drill a bunch of holes in it. Now this is stainless steel, so mind you, you might burn up some drill bits, but yeah, punch a couple holes in it and you'll be good, especially from this side. This is just cast aluminum. Just drill some holes in it and it's defective. You can go ahead and throw it right in the trash after that. But hospitals all the time collect these stupid hard drives, and they always turn them into ISD or IT or whatever you want to call them. And that's fine if you actually do it, but the problem is a lot like what I walked into today. There's a whole stack of hard drives from the last 10 years. You want to talk about a HIPAA violation? What's better? Including the hard drive with the device, or just keeping a whole pile of them so one day somebody can have every single patient that's ever visited your facility? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Just drill some holes in the stupid thing or smash it with a hammer and get it out of there. Just get rid of it, man. But one of the things I did want to show you guys, inside the hard drive is a set of platters, and there's some armatures that come through and they have little tiny heads on them, read and seek heads. Well, if you have a hard drive error and it won't boot up, sometimes all you have to do is rotate it 90 degrees. So if it normally sits in this configuration every single day, just turn the device on its side and try and reboot it. And if it's like this normally, turn it like this and try and run it. Often, very, very often, the stupid device will boot up, at least well enough that you can copy the hard drive. I've got a few hard drive copiers. I think I did a video about them. And that's one of the things I do. I'll connect my SATA cables to it. You put it in one configuration and you rip the hard drive, you know, punch some holes in it and throw it away once you rip it. But the other thing that you guys should be aware of, find another hard drive that does work. And you see this little card on the back? This is your hard drive controller. All you got to do, this does not really, it doesn't hurt the hard drive at all, but it has to be the exact same type of hard drive. Take the hard drive controller off one that does work and move it to a hard drive that's defective, and very often it will power it up. Because right here, this is your three-phase motor that spins up. Well, three-phase motors, they have some FETs that control the speed. Those FETs often go bad. So try a different hard drive controller and try and boot it up and see if that works for you. Oh, let's see. Sorry guys, I'm just rambling on here. I'm just talking and talking and talking. Those two techs for our hospital system offsites. Oh my gosh, Matthew, I feel bad for you, man. That is such a bad situation. When you lose your offsite biomeds, it screws over everybody because you're going to be stretched so thin. It could be like here in Houston, and they want to have like some of the in-house biomeds do offsites as well. Oh my gosh. Not only do I have to pay for parking every day, but going to an offsite in Houston's like what, number 2 or 3 as far as bad traffic in the nation. If you don't like come to work at the right hour and leave work at the right hour, you are stuck extra hour or so in traffic or construction. Houston can be such a nightmare, man, but it can be a fun place at the same time. And yeah, offsites, geez, I hope they fill those positions rather quickly. I think that's a good spot, Cleveland. I grew up in Michigan, so you know, you Ohio boys, it was our great competition down there. I actually like Cleveland. It was a nice place. But anyway, guys, I think I'm going to cut this a little bit short. I'm going to let you guys go and have a good night. Yeah, I got some other stuff that I think I'm going to do. Houston is a nightmare, man. And I right now, I do not do offsite work. Jesus. A Biomed and electronics tech, man. Well, that's a very interesting question because the definition varies between hospitals for electronics tech and biomed. Now, a lot of hospitals call electronics tech the guy that handles the tube system, which is what sends samples and whatnot from department to department. It's the guys that handle the television systems. They also do nurse call often, sometimes even hospital beds, patient beds. But the big difference is that electronics technicians are almost never paid the same as biomeds. They're always like a tier below us, and their salary caps out before ours does. So that's a pretty big thing. Now, if you got a job as an electronics tech and you wanted to study up as a biomed, that's fine. That would be actually a really good way to get into the career field. But yeah, man, it's electronics tech. It's a fun. They do some fun stuff, man. They really do. I'm in college for biomed. What would you recommend for someone to study? Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you something. College as a biomed, there's so many different avenues to get here into this career field. And I mean, are you taking a 2-year degree, a 4-year degree? There's so many avenues to get here, and it's not like that for many other career fields out there. But for biomed, it's unregulated. It's whatever the hospital will take. That's what you are. One of the things I can say for sure is in 1 hour of studying on YouTube on, let's say, electrical theory, it's worth an entire year's worth of studying online or studying in class. I mean, from digital circuit theory to op amps, whatever, you can find it on YouTube, and you get 10 times better explanation on YouTube than you'll ever get when you go and you sit down in some laboratory someplace. It's just the way it is. You can learn more from YouTube more quickly than you ever will from a regular biomed program. It's a barren wasteland in my area for biomed 1 positions. Hopefully it eases up. Man, I'll tell you right now, COVID has been rough. And then, of course, I got to hit on the baby boomers. A lot of these baby boomers, they were talking about retiring, and woo, when COVID came around, these guys just got tight. These guys were walking the walk like they were going to retire. COVID came around, and these guys are still here, months after they're supposed to retire. And it is like that everywhere. Whenever you have a downturn in the economy, people will not retire. They just hang around, and they're floaters. Or some of them are really good workers, but I mean, you never know. Let's see. I took electrical and it was so sloppy. I'd rather learn through YouTube. Trust me, you can learn so much more through YouTube. Guys, I still learn stuff from YouTube all the time, even to this day. I mean, even stuff that I thought I knew, hell no. I will look it up on YouTube. There's medical equipment that I've used for 20 years, and I will look it up on YouTube and I see how somebody else uses it differently or whatever. Or I learned the user's terminology. Man, I'll tell you what, YouTube is like my go-to. If I get a work order for a device that I've never heard of, which happens every single day I get some weird ass device that I have never heard of. And I'll just quickly look it up on YouTube on my phone. I got one today. It's basically a pneumatic tourniquet that they use in physical therapy. It restricts blood flow while they're working out so that they don't build up lactic acid. Did I know that this morning? No, I sure didn't. But a quick YouTube video later, and I was able to sit there and talk with the physical therapist on what their device is doing and what it should be doing. That's just how it is. I have a certificate. Well, I have a I guess you can call it a diploma. I've got a certificate from the Department of Defense for the Biomed School, which is, given my opinions, a little biased. The Biomed School with DoD is probably the best biomed school out there. They've spent millions and millions of dollars on an updated program with some of the latest and greatest technology. And then once you get through with that program and you go into the military, you are going to be training constantly there too, constantly. So it's not like you're 1 year over and you're done. No, they're going to cram you through that school. And when they cram you through that school, your mind's going to feel like it's exploding. You're going to get to your first duty station, and then that's when the real fun starts. When I got to my Army post, given I was Air Force, I was stationed with the Army for like 3.5 years. The first day on the job, they handed me a stack of paper work orders, and they said, "Go to it, man." And I was like, holy cow. Is that what this place is really going to be like? I had no clue what biomed was going to be like. And it was during a wartime. They handed me a stack. The stack was thicker than this, man, of paper work orders. And they said, "Go to it." I had no idea what these devices were. We didn't even have YouTube back then. We didn't even have Google back then. I think we used some of those medical encyclopedias, and usually we would go and just talk to the user. I used to be a pretty shy person, in case you guys didn't know, but between beer and being forced to go and talk to people and figure out what the problem was, that's how I developed these interpersonal relationship skills. I didn't have those growing up. I grew up in the swamp in the middle of freaking nowhere, Michigan, and I was a pretty shy person back in the day, and I never could have done this right here. But since then, I give entire presentations to departments. I will talk to hospital boards. I've done all sorts of stuff. I've been under investigations, and I've talked to people that way. And I'll tell you what, man, this is just such an awesome experience. But back to the question, you can get a job with just a certificate, okay? I know I went off on a tangent there, but you can get a job with just a certificate. And the thing is, guys, even if you don't have a certificate, I know people that are biomeds that have never graduated from any biomed school. None. Not at all. Maybe it was nepotism. Maybe it was just sheer will because they annoyed the biomed manager so much that they gave him a shot at the position. I know people that have never graduated from any college with any degree, and they're biomed 2s and 3s to this day, and they're good. They're good. It's a misnomer that like some college is going to make you a good biomed. Your brain and your communication skills is what's going to make you a good biomed. That's guaranteed. Rhythmic constrictors. Now I'm going to have to look that up, man. Rhythmic constrictors. Now, we do have sequential compression devices, SCDs, and those go on your legs. You know, they squeeze in different patterns, and it prevents embolisms and stuff from happening in your legs. But rhythmic constrictors, I'm going to have to look that up. That sounds like some old school terminology, man. I'll have to look that guy up. There's a hydroblaster over there, and the market needed a lot of work. It's caught in the floods last year. That's crazy, man. Let me tell you guys, I'm one of the most prepared people because of floods and because of inclement weather. Someday I'll show you what I have in my car 24/7, just waiting to rock and roll for the next weather event or whatever happens. It could be a socioeconomic event. It could be a weather event. I don't care. I'm ready to whatever. I'm going to get home to my family regardless of whatever happens because of the stuff that I got. Bjorn, what's up, man? How's it going, Bjorn? Bjorn, Trinidad. Oh my gosh, look at you guys. Oh, that's so awesome. I have so many people from so many different countries, and it has been so awesome hearing from you guys on what you do compared to what I do. Man, I've got people in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of nowhere. I've got people in the Caribbean, all over South America, people writing me, people in Eastern Europe. I'll tell you what, this has been just a fantastic experiment. Belgium, man, let me tell you something. I had some fun over in Belgium. I used to have a lot of fun over there. I would go to Belgium and I would go to Luxembourg monthly pretty much because I loved the environment out there. It was so fantastic. We would go up and we would see the World War II graves that are up there. And it's such a beautiful place, man. Oh, Kentucky. Hell yeah. My sister's over in Kentucky. Yeah, she's over in Bowling Green where they make the Corvette. I'm a big Corvette fan, guys. I've had like 3 of them throughout my life. Oh, man. Give me just a second, guys. I need something to drink. I've been talking too much, guys. Talking too much. I don't know if you guys know this, but in the back of all my videos, I've got 2 fat dogs that are just always ruining the sound in my videos. I love them though. Bowling Green is in Kentucky, man. You're so crazy. You think Bowling Green's in Ohio. Luxembourg is beautiful, by the way. And I know Luxembourg isn't Belgium. But some of the smartest people I ever met in the world were over there in Belgium and in Luxembourg. Very fascinating. Oh, man, that's a good question. I was a person that went to Shepherd Air Force Base, but now it's down at Fort Sam. You guys going down to Fort Sam, you're so lucky. Wichita Falls, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. It's in between Oklahoma City and Dallas. It's like in the middle of nowhere, just there. I guess it was a good place for us troublesome youngsters to go and study. But what would I do if I was in San Antonio going through biomed school? I'm pretty sure it would have just been reckless. Guys, if you don't know, this guy loves to party. I love the party, man. I used to, oh, Jesus. I was just insane for partying back in the day. And that's when they placed me in the middle of nowhere. Could you imagine me in San Antonio? Oh, Jesus. Have I ever worked on the East Coast? I'll tell you what, I worked on the East Coast of the East Coast. My job before this, I was in Charleston, South Carolina, which is, you know, it's a beautiful place. And it's, man, there's so many things I could say about Charleston. I would not be in Houston right now if Charleston was still the quaint little place that it used to be. But so many people showed up out there, and they still have roads that were built back in the 1600s, and you have 2020 traffic going down those roads. You know, it just wasn't meant to be. So it's just a place that wants to stay small, and because they want to stay small, they are not building the roads and infrastructure up the way that they properly should. But Charleston's beautiful, man. I love the water. I love the parties that used to be out there on the beaches and stuff. Man, it was so fantastic. So East Coast, yeah, I worked on the East Coast. I was looking for jobs down in Florida for a while there, and it came between Houston and Florida. I've applied to a bunch of jobs down there, and it just didn't pan out. Florida's an interesting environment for jobs, and maybe I'll explore that again in the future. But at this time, I'm in the world's biggest mecca of medical, which is Houston. If you guys didn't know, you can look it up, Texas Medical Center. It is the world's biggest collection of hospitals and the most technology in one spot in the world. And it's insane, just insane. There's like underground tunnels that go between hospitals and stuff out here. And, you know, for all its good sides, it has some bad sides too. Like some of these buildings were built back in like the 1960s, and they're trying to, you know, put modern day infrastructure in these buildings from the 1960s, and it doesn't always work so well. But anyway, yeah, it's I gotta put some of my stuff away. Sorry about that, guys. I always support putting my stuff away because there's nothing worse than reaching in your tool bag or your tool chest and the tool isn't where you wanted it to be. If you biomeds don't have one of these, I strongly suggest you get one. This is a soft face mallet. I also have a version of this that's a dead blow mallet. And the difference between this is there's nothing to deaden the blow. In other words, in the dead blow mallet, there's sand or something like that inside the cavity. So when you strike it, it absorbs all the momentum, so it doesn't get that bounce. It's just bam. These are really good for when you have to work with steel, stainless steels particularly. So I use these mallets all the time. Sometimes just lightly tap something into place. Guys, I know too many biomeds that don't have a soft face mallet, and they always mess up the outside of my medical equipment because they're tapping something into place. So get a soft face mallet. Oh man, Bowling Green State University is Ohio. I wasn't talking about the university, Matthew. I was talking about Bowling Green, Kentucky, the home of the Corvette. Is there any equipment you haven't worked on? You know something? This is an interesting question because just today I was given a list of equipment that this company would like me to check out. And almost every single device on there was some sort of imaging equipment. There was CR readers. I think there was some dry process film printers. A bunch of them were C-arms and some other stuff. But I have CT school training. I have several ultrasound schools under my belt. But I've helped out a lot with like nuclear medicine, nuclear gamma cameras. But I've never done linear accelerators. I always thought those were so cool. Linacs, they call them. And I would like to do more with nuke med. Maybe more I'll have some more updates on that in the future. We'll see. I might eventually go into imaging. If not with this company, then with another one, because I think now in my career, I believe that I'm good enough to move into imaging. Before, I always thought like imaging was for the best of the best technicians. And then I realized that a lot of imaging technicians are just effing lazy. All right. They're just lazy. A lot of imaging technicians are not that technical at all. In fact, most of them forget the training immediately afterwards. And what they do is a first look. Guys, imaging is one of the most gravy positions I've ever heard of, because in many, many places, it's the guy who has the OEM training is just on the books so that they can get the reduction in contract costs. In other words, often a contract will cost, let's say, $200,000. But if you have an imaging guy that has been OEM trained, you'll get a contract cost of like 86, 90,000, something like that. So it'll be like half the cost of the contract if you have somebody that's trained. So it pays for this guy's entire salary just to be there. Just as long as he clocks in and he's on the schedule, you can get first look contracts. And imaging, these guys, let me tell you, imaging people very often will just call in the OEM for every little detail. And that is the truth. Some of you guys, imaging guys, might be like, oh, no, that doesn't happen. Bullshit. You guys know it happens. And these imaging guys stay busy. In other words, I'm not saying that they're lazy. That's not what I'm saying at all. A lot of these guys will call in the manufacturer for all sorts. Yeah, they'll do a first look. They'll turn it on. Yep, it's got an error code. I'm going to call the OEM. There's a lot of imaging techs that are not very technical, and that's basically my point. I always thought that imaging was the most technical path that you can go down, and in many ways it is, but there's some people that probably just shouldn't be in imaging. That's probably the only way to say it. I don't care if I burn some bridges on here or not. There's definitely some people that shouldn't be in imaging because they're just not technical. They're not curious. Have I ever worked on electrophoresis power supplies? Man, you know something? I have worked with electrophoresis units, but a lot of the units that do that here are very proprietary, and I've never worked on the power supplies because they're usually integrated into the electrophoresis unit, the ones that we have here in our laboratories. In case you guys didn't know, electrophoresis is what they use for DNA research. So electrophoresis pulls different strands of the DNA through a mixture based on a frequency or whatever, and that's how you get those bars for DNA research. I have not worked on the power supplies, although I would imagine that electrophoresis power supply is not very different than a regular PSU, huh? I don't know. Be interesting to find out. Isn't Biomed and IT closely related? Oh my gosh, let me tell you something. That is such a heated situation right now. There's a lot of entities, including the federal government, that they're converting over biomeds to IT or IS or whatever you want to call them. And you know, it's just the future. Anybody that's done any biomed work recently will tell you that we are getting to be much, much more integrated with IT than ever before. And so much so that I encourage a lot of biomeds that want to do like imaging or something to go ahead and get their A+ or Security Plus credentials. Go ahead and get those certifications and keep them, because we do a lot of IT work, guys. We really do. Don't companies like Philips lock their equipment down where you need to call them? You know something? That's a good question. And that's definitely going to be a good question because of legislation like right to repair. They do lock them down, but once you get training, all you have to do is call with a serial number and sometimes a PO, and they will give you a code to unlock the service mode for like 24 hours, 12 hours, or whatever. There's some people that have been able to crack that code and you know, generate their own codes. So those people are going to be very quiet. I do know they exist for a fact, but I'll tell you that it is possible to crack those codes that they generate, and um, some people have done it for sure. You bought some 3 kilovolt models from eBay. Man, I'll tell you what. Bjorn, I'll tell you, have you tried powering them up? What's going on with your power supplies, man? Because I would imagine it would be just like any typical power supply. You would, you know, go through your AC filter circuit, then it's going to go into a full wave bridge rectifier. And once you go to full wave bridge, now you got your high voltage DC. And once you go to high voltage DC, then it's going to go into modulation of your higher frequency that you're talking about, your 3 kilovolt, or yeah, well, whatever frequency it's operating as. I don't even know. But yeah, I would think they're definitely fixable if they're broke. I mean, try those FETs. When in doubt on a power supply, try the MOSFETs, especially if you have a blown fuse. Try your MOSFETs, all right? That's like a standard. Oh, let's see. Yeah, geez. Let me tell you, Matthew, there is a career field that will happen, and it's already started to happen at a lot of the larger hospitals. It's called, that would be, what the hell do they normally call it? I don't want to call it biomed network engineer. It's, anyway, medical networking is basically it. And it is going to be a huge thing because there's not so many people that do it. All right. Now you can either go into the PAC side of medical networking, you know, where you manage your PAC system and what can and cannot access your PACs, or it could be the other side. You could be the integration person, which when you have ECGs and some of these other devices, you will have modules that you have to configure, excuse me, so that it can talk to whatever digital medical record you have. So, you know, you have your digital medical record, you have usually a mid-service, which takes whatever the device is talking and it converts it so that it, you know, it knows where to go in the digital medical record. And then you have the device. So you have to configure the device, then you have to configure the middleman. There's so many different middlemen out there. I wish I could be more specific on that question because there's so many different companies that will take the data from the device and they convert it over so that it can go to Cerner, whatever. And so that is a career field that's up and coming, guys. And if I was going to study for anything, by all means, get your 2-year degree or whatever in biomed. And if you really like computers, I'm telling you right now, that is going to be a 6-figure job, guaranteed. And there's only going to be 1 or 2 people at every hospital that's going to have this job. It will happen. It's as we move to more wireless devices, you have to access your IPs, you have to request IPs, you have to request MAC address allotments for different domains. Oh my gosh, I've been down this road so many times. I wish there was somebody at my hospital that was designated that this is your job. I bring to you my MAC address, I request an IP address from you, fill out whatever form, and you just magically just go and do it. Tell me my AE title for PACS access. You give me my IP address, and I just put it in the machine, and my machine starts working. Voila! It's one of those things I really wish happened. We need a biomed career field that is networking, medical networking. I'm telling you. Let's see. I got to catch up on some of these. Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Matthew, you're absolutely correct about the EMR. 1 bad safety cap blown. Ooh. Man, I'll tell you what, that sounds fun. That power supply issue. That sounds definitely fun. A 1 to 1,000 attenuator for measuring the output. Man, Where could you get a 1 to 1,000 reduction? I know we've done it with X-ray. You know, the one to 1,000 or 1 to 10,000 reduction. Um, there's so many different ways. Maybe I'll talk to you later, Bjorn. That's an excellent situation, man. That sounds fun, really fun. Just don't get shocked, man. That's high voltage. Oh Jesus, guys. POs. Oh my gosh. Yes, getting a PO is different at every single hospital, and it is such a nightmare. Some hospitals, especially with contracted management, POs are an absolute nightmare. In some places, it's easy. You just have to know the process, and you have to know the right forms, and it's such a garbage. The easiest I ever had it was at this one hospital before it went third party. I think it went GE, and that kind of ruined the culture there, but this hospital, we used to have an Excel spreadsheet, and at the first column had your PO numbers all the way down, and then it had columns like part number, part price, part vendor, and you just filled out your line on the spreadsheet, and then you read off the first column, your PO number, to whoever was on the phone. So if I needed a part, I could instantly order that part. Guys, I wish I could do that again. It's such a pain in the butt ordering parts. First off, if you're the person ordering the parts and you have access to the PO number, you instantly know if it's on back order. You instantly know if it can be overnighted. There's so many advantages to you talking and doing the ordering compared to somebody else. How many times have you guys had to order a part and then later somehow fill in your customer on when the part's going to be available? Because we often don't know that. When we order through a service like GE or Crothel or whatever, we often don't know, at least for a day or two, when the part is going to be available. So that it just adds more chaos to the mixture. Some examples of what IT work the biomeds perform. You know something, I should just do a whole separate video on that, because it is such an important topic for IT and biomed and how we are going to eventually work together. I honestly should just devote one whole video to doing it proper, because there's so many different aspects. I know I'm shouting out a bunch of stuff to you guys that you probably don't understand, like packs or you know, AE titles or whatever, and HL7. There's just so much stuff that I wish I could explain to you guys, but I think it would be proper for me to do it in a video that is nicely formatted, because here I'm just doing all this ad lib, and probably half the stuff I'm telling you guys is going to be wrong, just because I'm doing it off the cuff of my brain right now, and you know what little bit of rum I got going back here. So I'm just doing this off the cuff, and none of this is rehearsed. So I hope to God I'm telling you guys all correct stuff. I'll find out tomorrow when I view this video. Let's see. Oh, that's very cool. I do the same thing, Bjorn. If I have two models that are working, but they have different symptoms, I will power them both up live right next to each other and take measurements. That's how I solved component level problems with the Belmont Rapid Infuser. That's how I found it. All the way down at the bottom is the little transistors that control the battery charging circuit, is because of doing that. Once you have two models, just take your time and strip them down so that they're safe, and take your measurements back and forth. You know, what do you have? What should you have? And that's such an excellent way to troubleshoot. You're lucky for having two different models available. Biomed Informatics. Craig, are you Canadian? Informatics is such a Canadian word. Maybe it's just me. But you're right. Biomedical informatics. I'm telling you, you can take my word for it right now that is the future of biomed. Is you're going to have your general biomeds, you're going to have your IT biomeds, and working in the same tier are going to be your imaging biomeds. Because if you lose your IT biomed, you're losing so much right there. There's such a powerful position and such a needed position, I think. The breadboard version. Oh, okay, cool. So, Bjorn, did you already wind that yourself, the 1 to 1,000 reduction? I'd be curious. Very curious. Um, yes, PAX. Bjorn, PAX is a picture archiving system, and that's what we here in America call the database for, yes, imaging archives. And PACS in every single hospital is different, and it's run by people that are just designated PACS people. And the really sucky thing about it is that the PACS people often don't know biomedical equipment. And it's sometimes we as biomeds are hitting our head against the wall because we're trying to explain the situation to the PACS people, and they just don't understand medical equipment. Biomeds need to be doing that job. PACS administrators, biomeds. Oh, okay, right down the road. That's cool, Craig. That's cool, man. We're man, I'll tell you, I've got so much stuff in the works, man. There's so many different companies and stuff that I've been talking to, and I've been thinking about working for here around Houston because it's such a diverse market. You know, if you want to do like third party repair, you can do that. If you want to do third party medical device provider, you can do that, like loaners and stuff. I mean, Houston's the place when it comes to medical equipment. I'm telling you, there is no place like this on the planet. We have everything that you could possibly want right here, and it's just a mecca of medical. So it's, you'll see. I'm going to be working with some companies in the future. And guys, I've got some companies that have asked me to come and videotape their videotape. Boy, that's dating myself. Oh, some of us remember what videotapes were. They asked me to come and video their company, and some of them are third-party biomed providers and stuff. And I'm just curious if you guys would be interested in seeing that, because there's so many different areas of biomed. Don't think we're all just a bunch of people that work in hospitals or we work for OEMs. That is not it, man. There's so many people. I know people that buy stuff off of auctions, and they refurb it and then they sell it. I know people that do that, and that's their entire job. You know, they buy it off auction sites, they refurb it in storage units, and they ship it out, and they're making good money doing that type of stuff. So there's all different types of biomeds. Oh my gosh, Matthew, AEM. Hold on. Oh my gosh, what a topic, Matthew. Hold on. Oh my gosh. AEM. Oh, well, if you guys didn't know, AEM is a adjusted equipment management program, I think is what they call it, something like that. But anyway, it's based on a risk score as to whether or not an item will receive a PM. Oh my gosh, this is part of the reason that I have had some interesting situations at my work. Because the AEM isn't always right. It should be easy to manage it, and it should be easy to alter it. And when you have third-party companies coming in, they lock it down. You can never manage your own AEM program. It's some corporate entity on the other side of the state controls your AEM schedule, which is basically what devices do and do not get a PM. I understand the intent behind an AEM program. In some ways, it's really good. In other ways, it just pisses me right off. It really does. Matthew, you opened up a can of worms there, man. So here's just an instance for you. I found out that my light sources, my 300-watt xenon light sources that are on rolly stands that are portable, and my blanket warming cabinets, which are the large stainless steel cabinets that have heating elements, neither one of them are on a PM schedule because of the AEM program. Alternative equipment maintenance, yes. So a lot of places are moving to AEM. And see, the thing is I like to say devices that have a tendency of catching on fire should have a PM. Maybe that's just my baseline as a biomed, is if it can catch on fire, you should clean it. So the biomed management, their excuse is, oh, it's the user's responsibility to clean it, yada, yada, yada. Well, what about the inside of a light source? The argument is that at 500 hours, it should be opened up and cleaned out anyway. Well, I have some light sources that will go years before they reach 500 hours. But in that time, depending on what operating room they're in or what environment they're in, they will be dirty as all hell. All right? I'm talking dirty. And the problem is when it comes to, all right, I'm going to use the Coke can, all right? So the Coke can is the doctor. My pen right here is the patient. This is the sterile table. And this guy right here is the light source, okay? So this is pretty much how it's set up. You have the patient, you have the doctor. Right next to the doctor is the light source, and behind him is the sterile table. So when he calls for an instrument, they'll pass it back and forth from behind the doctor. Where do you think the exhaust from that light source is pointed? Well, when it's not falling over, it's pointed at the sterile table that's behind the doctor. So when lint builds up in a device like a light source, it tends to build up until it occludes the air passage, and then it just pops out as like one of these dust bunnies that you see rolling on the ground. And it does happen. It does happen. All you got to do is go up and just touch the light source while it's running, and you'll see a cloud of stuff come out the back because you just jostled it loose. Now, could you imagine the light source sitting right in front of your sterile table and that light source is not cleaned regularly? Light sources and heating cabinets, blanket warming cabinets, have a tendency of catching on fire if they're not kept clean. And here's the best part. Blanket warming cabinets are found in the sterile core. Now, I did a whole nother video for you guys on what a sterile core is. It's normally an uber clean area of the hospital. It's limited traffic. Everything that goes in there has to be somewhat sanitary. But blanket warming cabinets naturally, because they move air, they will collect dust. And so much so that if you take your hand and you rub it across the top of the cabinet, it will come out with a blanket, like a dryer. You guys ever do your own laundry? You clean the dryer filter, and it's got that, that layer of muck. That is what you'll get when you rub your hand down the top of a blanket warming cabinet that has not been cleaned. And the problem is that's in a sterile core. Okay, when you guys get inspected, and you will, somebody is going to be overzealous one day, and they're going to just by chance, they're going to rub their hand down some areas that you weren't expecting. Just rub on top of valves and stuff. And it's dirty because my contractors were not, it was not part of the contract for the inside of the sterilizer. And sterilizers, even in the sterile core, are dirty as hell. They really are. man, I'll tell you what, AEM programs, oh my gosh, you guys, the intent is good. The intent is to limit the garbage that we have to do. And it's to clean up the amount of work that we do so that we can concentrate on more essential items. That's all there is to it. You are absolutely right, Bjorn. All heating devices have a natural convection to them. There always is, and they naturally, even through ionization, they naturally attract dust. Okay, anytime you run voltage through something, it has something called a corona, which a corona is not a beer and it's not a virus that infects you. A corona is an ionization that attracts dust, okay? And it just happens around electronics. And it happens to every single heating cabinet out there, every single sterilizer. and they need to be cleaned. I'm such an advocate for cleaning medical devices, which takes time. And I understand that it's a pain in the butt, but guys, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to think about that, because yes, you're absolutely right. CRT monitors, hell, even the old school LCD monitors. Old school LCD monitors had little convection fans in there for active cooling. And they were like that thick, the old LCD panels. They were really thick. But they would also collect a hell of a lot of dust in there. So guys, if you're just getting into biomed, by all means, clean your equipment. I don't care if they say it's not your responsibility, because guess what? When they point the finger, they're going to point their finger at you. And it's just the way it happens. So take the time. I have something very special I'm going to share with you guys in the next day or two. I have a new pack out vacuum. It's brand new from Milwaukee. I am so excited about this guy because it's going to change the way that I do business. As you guys know, I moved to the Milwaukee pack out system, and I currently am using the DeWalt wet dry vacuum, which, shoot, I had one around here. But the DeWalt wet dry vacuum is normally okay, but it doesn't work with the pack out system because it's rounded and it's very cumbersome. The pack out vacuum is it's very consolidated, and it has tool storage inside the lid. So if you have like a wand, or if you have a squeegee or something, it can store it inside the device, and then you close the lid and it slides on your pack out. It's such a cool system. In a day or two, I'm going to have that video for you guys as soon as I get it. I'm so excited. And it's also quieter, way quieter. From the videos I see online, I'm going to do a demo because I've got my DeWalt right here. We're going to see exactly how loud it is. Because if you guys don't know, when you turn it on a vacuum anywhere around patients, people just give you the dirty looks. So the quieter the vacuum, the better. That's what I say. And that is going to happen very, very soon. Riley, active cooling is normally a good thing. The problem with active cooling is it creates noise and it collects more dust. So the mini fans that they use for active cooling, let's see, do I have some? I got so much stuff around here, guys. Oh, do I have some of those fans? I got photo interrupters, and I got so much stuff. Oh, anyway, the tiny little fans that they use are like 40 millimeter fans on a lot of devices, like some of the old LCD panels. And the problem is that they have to spin really fast to create a certain amount of airflow in order to be effective. And spinning fast will move more dust around, and at the same time, it's also harder on the fan, especially if it gets dirty. So active cooling is just fine if you have larger fans, but when you move to those smaller fans, like the ones that are in laptops, as those guys get dirty, they can become imbalanced really easily from minimal dust collection. That's why you got to keep those fans clean, and it's such a pain. Like in one video I did, there was a Karl Storz video system, and I showed that on the back of the Karl Storz video monitor, they have an adapter. It's a video adapter, but it's hidden behind the bracket. So it's sitting in between the monitor and the bracket, and you could not access it. And it had a little tiny fan in there. It was like a 30 or 40 millimeter fan. And how the hell am I supposed to clean that guy out? You have to clean it, because as those little fans get dirty, it'll start wearing on those bearings, and then they'll start squealing, that wee, you know, and it happens to every single one of them. And the thing is, they have to be cleaned. All fans have to be cleaned, which is why I did a video on the what the hell was it? It was the Megadyne ESUs, and I did a video on anatomy of failure Megadyne ESU. And inside the device, I did not know that there was active cooling, because you can't access those fans from outside the case. You have to open the stupid thing up. So that means those fans are never going to get cleaned. Never. It's never going to get cleaned. So eventually, like, you're going to get a surgeon that's going to complain. You're going to be like, hey, you know, this Megadyne unit, it's just sitting there squealing at us. Or it's going to get so hot that it's going to shut off on its own. Who knows? Fans have to be cleaned. All of them. They all have to be cleaned. Does the Milwaukee have a HEPA filter system? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And guys, I am such a huge advocate for wet dry vacuums as a biomed. I had one of my team members, I took the video down because of sensitivities at my work, but one of my team members, his name's Brian. He's a Vietnamese gentleman. I think he's about 50 years old. Anyway, he came up with this idea. Instead of draining the heater coolers from the bottom spigot, why don't we just vacuum all the bleach water or the slime water out through the top? And I was thinking about it. I was like, I don't know. The vacuum's clearly faster than, you know, the 1/2-inch drain tube. And sure as hell, we put that vacuum in there. We drain the reservoir in about, I don't know, 5-10 seconds. Like, whoop, clean the whole thing out. And ever since then, I've been such a huge advocate for wet dry vacs just during periodic maintenance, because normally we have to like empty things out traditionally. And using a wet dry vac, I found so many different ways to use the vacuum to help me do my job, not just like cleaning dust, for suctioning out water, or when you open a spigot, or when you open a valve, or if you're changing out some plumbing. If you're changing out some plumbing, I stick the vacuum right there. So as I crack the plumbing open, there's always residual water. As you crack the plumbing, all that drippage goes into the vacuum, and I don't have to worry about cleaning up around my circuit boards. I'll tell you what, having a portable wet dry vacuum has been a game changer. I'm going to make a video about that because it's going to be so awesome. Yes. Matthew, you are correct about the anti-static PCs, the anti-static vacuums when doing PC work. However, I have only once ever fragged a board because of static. And it just so happens, before I was a biomed, guys, I used to, well, first I was an auto mechanic, and then after that, I fixed industrial printers, photocopiers, and fax machines, like some of the big ones, even microfiche. So that's what I did before the military. And let me tell you, this was a doctor's office, of all things. And if you guys didn't know, toner, the stuff that they use in laser printers, it's actually it's really fine particles of plastic. That's what toner is. That's why you don't want to get it in you or in your lungs or anything, because it's plastic. It's plastic dust, basically. So maybe someday I'll come up with a video on the xerographic process, and you know how it all works, how laser machines and laser printers work. But anyway, on this particular device, I don't know if I did something stupid or if the users did something stupid. The odds are it was me, right? But anyway, so I think it was the waste toner module. I pulled it out, and they filled it too full, and there's waste toner all over the inside of this stupid device. And it was all over my boards. It was all over the whole inside. So I was vacuuming up all this plastic. Well, have you guys ever rubbed your hand on a plastic slide or something? Yeah, you know, you get static and you can zap somebody, right? Well, that's what happens when you vacuum toner, okay? When you vacuum toner, it's plastic dust, and it creates a hell of a lot of static really quickly. And the only time I have ever popped a circuit board while vacuuming, ever, was this time. And guys, I have fixed thousands of things in my life. Thousands. That's an easy number that I can throw out there. I've been fixing stuff since I was a little kid. I'll have plenty of stories about that later. But I've only popped one circuit board ever, and I was using one of those static vacuums, the 3M vacuums. That's like a briefcase that, you know, it's got the chamber in there. We had to use that because of toner, because it's one of the only vacuums that picks up toner correctly without, you know, blowing a cloud of dust. And I actually heard the pop. I heard the pop. I was vacuuming around the board, and I heard the pop. It was an audible, like static zap. And I thought, oh, hell no. So I finished the cleanup job, and then I went and tried to power it up, and that unit was blown, completely blown. Only time it's ever happened. And if you guys didn't know, let's see, do I have any PCBs around here? Guys, electronics nowadays are completely different than electronics of days of old. Guaranteed. Now, if you have chips or something that aren't soldered to a board, then they're probably a little more volatile if they're older chips. The newer chips are way more stable than the older ones, okay? New chips, stable. Old chips, garbage, okay? Well, when a chip is soldered to a PCB, which is a printed circuit board, it is now part of a larger plane. It's got a larger ground plane. It's got it's now connected to your power rails. It now is part of a system, and it is a lot less susceptible to a static shock than when it's outside of the board. So when you have components that you are going to solder into a board, they are way more susceptible to static than ones that are on the board. I'm not saying like don't wear your wrist strap. If you feel lovely about wearing your wrist strap, then do it. But all I'm saying is I've only once ever blown a board, and that's because I was vacuuming plastic dust, and I learned my lesson, as we all do. I need to catch up on some of these. Bearingless fans. You know something, Craig? You are now in the right place. Bearingless fans, or air bearing fans, I think they call them. They operate on air bearings, which are minute tolerances, which allows slippage. It's kind of like if I were to have two sheets of ultra smooth glass and I were to like lay them on top of each other, you'd notice one glass slowly slide across the other one. It's the same thing. You get air molecules that are in between two planes, especially if they're smooth, and those two planes are liquid. They will move past each other. So that's air bearing fan. That's a good question. I still think fan's a fan. They all have to be clean. Let's default to that. I used back in the old days a normal household vacuum cleaner to clean out dust in PCs. As a result, a RAM module. You know something? That is a very funny thing. You said that, Bjorn. Let's see what I got. Guys, I have just bins full of parts and stuff. Let's see what I got. Oh. What do I have? Parts. What do I got? What do I got? Guys, I have obviously I have full bunches of containers. I have entire containers full of things like memory modules. You never would have done that back in the day. Memory modules back in the day, like before the original DDR, I think when you got to like DDR 2, 3, 4, they became way more stable. But back in the day, when you had the 32-pin SIMs and whatnot, man, RAM used to be super susceptible to static electricity, and it was an absolute nightmare. Like you had to be grounded, your board had to be grounded. You take it out of its anti-static wrapping, you pop it in the board. After you tested your bracelet. I do remember those days, man. That's the same type of time. When you move the mouse while your computer's booting up, it would crash. You guys remember those days, the 386, 486 days? You move the mouse, and every time you move the mouse, it sends an IRQ, which is an interrupt request to the CPU. And if the CPUs on the old like Windows 3.1 systems, if they received an IRQ request while it was booting up, it would crash. They used to do that. Guys, computers back in the day, man. I've been in computers since 1993, 1992, 1993. I was 12 or 13 years old at the time. But you're absolutely right about the RAM. Compressed air. Compressed air can build up static too, man. You know, that's the good thing about that vacuum. I'll tell you about that later. All these vacuums now have. Oh no, screw it. Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Who cares? Who cares? So all these vacuums do have a suction port. You know, they'll have a suction port, but at the same time, you can move the same hose over to the exhaust port, and you can now use that vacuum for blowing, which, depending on the type of device and what you're working with, that can be a pretty big plus. That's a battery-powered vacuum right there, guys. I'm going to do a comparison video on that in a day or two. I'm so excited about that Milwaukee. But man, RAM bus. Oh my gosh, Bjorn, how long have you been in computers, man? All that EDO memory, RAM bus. Oh Jesus, yeah, that's some 1990s stuff right there. SD RAM. Holy cow! I've got a lot of old parts too. Some of the old ECC memory from computers, servers and whatnot. 1988. Okay. I can remember back in the 80s. I can remember back in the 80s when my buddy, my best friend, he told me about email. His dad was a civil engineer, and I can remember the day he told me about email. I said, "What the hell is email?" He says, "You know the mail that you send at your house? It's a lot like that, only it's instant." And I was like, a little 10-year-old kid or whatever. I was thinking, instant. Wow, how's it instant? But that's why I got interested in technology, is because my buddy's dad was he was at the start of it all. I was just some poor kid that grew up on a farm. I had a buddy whose dad was the one that was in the technology. You still have to program ISR and Arduino. Fun stuff. Oh my gosh, that's true. Arduino is a controller, and your Pi is a processor, system on a chip. Man, I'll tell you what, there's some cool stuff. I'm gonna build. I've got the components. I just got to figure out what I'm gonna build. I've got another Raspberry Pi 4, but it's in a very nice enclosure, and I'm thinking about either building a very, very nice mini arcade system or something. I haven't really figured it out yet. I got some cool stuff though. It's either that, or maybe I'll build a Linux system, a portable Linux system for doing like inventory, because oh my gosh, guys, inventory is the bane of a biomed's life. It just is. When we do inventories, it's always like a half-ass endeavor, and I'm not a half-ass type of person. So I've developed my sheets, my spreadsheets that have macros and stuff running in the background, and I just need a computer that can run it. That's in a a portable form factor, and I mean I could run it off a laptop, I guess. But if you guys don't know, laptops break, so I'd rather not run it off my laptop while I'm running around. Bjorn, MS-DOS 3.1. Man, MS-DOS 3.1. I was there. Yeah, I've been using computers since like obviously the mid early 80s, back with the Apple IIe. I think my first personal computer was a Timex Sinclair, and it's a basic programming computer. It's basically a keyboard that has like a microprocessor built into it, and you run programs and you save programs to a cassette tape. And as a kid, there was no YouTube or anything to show me how to use it. You had to sit there and read through like lines of code, and you had to just trial and error. Man, what a time. Guys, I miss the 80s and 90s so much. I really do. I really miss that time, man. I'll be right back, guys. I think I'm gonna break my record, guys. This is like almost a 2-hour long video. This is crazy. I love chatting with you guys. Honestly, I love hearing from you all. It's this has been such an amazing experiment. This whole YouTube thing, because when I got started, there was almost no videos whatsoever on biomedical technology. I remember when I signed up for the military, I had no freaking clue what this career field was. I don't know if I told you guys, but true story, I had a girlfriend that was cheating on me, and on my way to work, her ex-boyfriend lived on a main road that was right next to my job. So I had to drive past his house every single day just to get to work. And her car was parked in front of his car one morning when I went to work. And I was like, what the hell is this? And I was just done. So that lunchtime, I clocked out. I went down to the recruiter's office, and I sat down and talked with him. He said, hey, why don't you go down and take the ASVAB test? We'll sign you up in just a minute. And you know, it's a quick test. They'll tell you what your capabilities are and what jobs you qualify for. So I was like, sure, let's do it. So 15 minutes later, I was on the other side of town, Lansing, Michigan, and I was taking the ASVAB, no preparation whatsoever. And by the time I drove all the way back to his office, he's calling me. He's like, hey, are you heading back? Can we talk? Can we talk? And he was running me through all the different jobs, and all I could think of was I wanted to be someplace where there's lots of girls, and I wanted to be someplace where I can fix things, right? So I can fix things, and I want to be around the girls. Medical, right? So I'm going to do medical and medical repair. All right, whatever that is, I'm cool. I really didn't understand at the time what I was getting into. And I am so happy that things happened the way they did throughout my life. It seems like divine intervention, because I ended up here just by chance, honestly, because of a girl. So it's because I ended up fixing stuff at a medical, which is, guys, if you are single young guys and you want to do something interesting in the military, I swear to God, go into medical equipment repair. You will not regret it. You will have the time of your life. I swear to God. The MSX2. Holy cow, that's reaching back. Bjorn, what are you doing bringing up the MSX2? That's a long time ago, man. That's a long time ago. Yeah, I really do. I love computers. I think 2 or 3 of those bins are nothing but computer parts. I've got some really cool stuff over there too. It's just I have a massive system that I built for running virtual reality and a few other things, and for processing these videos. And because I don't like waiting, I built a reasonably fast system. So I have extra parts and whatnot that I wish I could do something with. But every once in a while I sell some parts, but other than that, they just go in bins, I guess. You were 10 at the time. No kidding. How old are you, Bjorn? How old are you? PC repair since 2003. 2003 was a good time to probably get into PC repair. Shit, 2003 is when I started. That's when I started as Biomed. It was March 18th, 2003. And that's when I headed out. So, all right, Bjorn, you've been there with me, man. This crazy change of technology. I don't even know how I would explain it to people. I've got so many years experience with so many different systems that you know, every once in a while, especially with medical, like there's some old ass computers that are running some of these especially imaging systems, and people are just lost because the manufacturer won't support it anymore, and they don't know what to do. And it's like, well, shit, it's just a Windows error. Let's just go in and, you know, clear it out. Or some systems you still have to go in and edit the auto exec bat file, you know, and go in and edit it to, you know, free up some of your memory. Shit, I still, up until a couple of years ago, I still had systems where I had to go in and modify the optical drivers that were in the auto exec bat and config sys. Man, there's some old ass systems out there. Okay, cool. So you've done some interesting stuff, Bjorn. Welder, constructor, and car mechanics. That's very interesting. I was also a car mechanic from 1990, was it 1998 or 1999 until what was it, 2001? I think 2001. And from there, me and my boss just kind of had it out because I got really good at what I did. I used to install custom clutches in cars, and there's this company called Clutch Dynamics. They would purposely ship down their clutches and their customers to our shop, and we would install the clutches, do the clutch burn-in, and you know, test out the system. And then there's race cars, all sorts of crazy stuff that would come through our doors. And I was the guy. You know, I started out as just a oil changer, and then eventually I was the guy that was doing engine transplants, and I was doing all the custom clutch work. And me and my boss had a little bit of falling out, largely on my part. There's just some parts of my life I had to get really figured out at that time. And yeah. But then I moved into, I fixed photocopiers and fax machines and industrial printers right after that. And those guys sent me to school 1 week a month for like a whole year out there in Chicago. I'd drive over to Chicago, you know, go to training for a week and go back to Michigan. But yeah, that was, man, what a crazy time in my life. Linux. Oh my gosh. Riley, I will tell you right now that in some way, shape, or form, a lot of systems run off Linux. Guaranteed. Because Linux is reliable. It operates on little to no resources. It's open source, so there's a lot of development for it, especially on like some of these independent platforms. Linux is there. You might not see it. You might not recognize that it's Linux. There's all sorts of devices that use Linux. And having that background, you knowing the command line structure and knowing how to run a Linux program or to super user do, you know, sudo, knowing stupid little things. And if you don't know something, guys, we are in that beautiful age where you can go on YouTube and learn it. There's so much stuff. I've been part of research projects where they're doing some Linux programming for some monitors, and I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about serial communications, and there was some experimental serial communications that they were networking with some manufacturers at the medical university. I didn't know anything about RS-40 485, but I swear to God, go on YouTube, read up on some stuff. Every single day I learn something about who I am, about this job, and about technology every single day. And today was no exception. Linux, yes, it's out there, man. It's definitely out there. That is very true. But then again, Bjorn, everything wasn't filled with electronic sensors. But then again, how many modern day systems, when you boot them up, they self-calibrate nowadays? I would say a vast majority of them have watchdog sensors, so they monitor the CPU and they talk to all the different boards to make sure everything's functioning. A lot of them self-calibrate. They have integral sensors, and they have feedback circuits. There are so many systems that are just foolhardy nowadays compared to what they ever used to be. I mean, if you wanted to be a dumb biomed nowadays, you could be a dumb biomed and be successful. But I like to perfect my craft, and I like knowing more about this stuff that we're touching, but it is what it is. Craig, funny how many biomeds I've met that were auto hobbyists and previous mechanics, myself included. Mr. Craig, you are absolutely correct. I will gleefully refer to myself as a nerd, and every single other person that's a biomed is a nerd in their own weird little way. Here's the crazy thing. Oh my gosh, you guys. So biomeds historically don't have very good interpersonal skills. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because we're all nerds. I'm a huge nerd. I'm in nerd heaven here, okay, guys? What is it with biomeds and not really talking to people? There's so many biomeds out there that don't like, they like hide in their hole. During lunchtime, they're isolated. They will email their users instead of going and talking to them face to face. There's so many biomeds out there that are introverts. I don't know, man. A lot of us biomeds are the same. Cars? Yes, absolutely yes. 200% yes. Even the grow biomeds. I know grow biomeds that are awesome at cars. And just to let you guys know, I mean, this is an inclusive career field. I know people of every nationality that have been biomeds. I know people of different genders that are biomeds. It's one of those things that anybody can do well, and especially if they're willing to learn. And I love cars, man. I absolutely love cars. Bjorn, you're absolutely correct. Linux is incredibly powerful. I like Windows. I like Windows, especially now for networking. Linux has its place. It has its place for simple machines. And you don't notice it, but a lot of these devices that run off of solid-state drives or flash cards or whatever, they are running a version of Linux, almost always. And it's just the way it is, man. Linux is simple, it's reliable, it does its thing. It is what it is. And I'm not the nerd type of Linux guy. I'm a Windows guy myself. Definitely anti-Macintosh, anti-Apple though, because Apple just has a lockdown on their products. It's so annoying. Oh my gosh, Ryan, you are right on point with that question, man. Do I see the field going through a wage correction at any point in the future? So there's several things that are going to be very interesting for biomed in the next couple of years. First off, most of the people I know in biomed are old. That's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a fact. There's a lot of people that are baby boomers that are biomeds. They're in their 50s. They're in their 60s. I know some people that are in their 70s that are biomeds. And the problem is you're going to lose a lot of history. You're going to lose a lot of culture, and you're going to lose a lot of experience when those guys retire. And then those guys, I'm telling you, as soon as the economy straightens out even just a little bit, a lot of those guys are going to be done. So we're in this world where things are a lot more regulated than what those guys are used to. And as the crackdown starts happening, a lot of these guys are just retiring at their whim. More power to them, man. But we're losing a lot of people that are very experienced. And I see that so far we have some catching up to do. Now, there's a lot more programs for biomed than there ever used to be. It used to be only, what, 2, maybe 3 schools used to have biomed programs. And now there's all these places that are getting on board. And the thing is the quality of education between place and place is it's pretty incredible. You wouldn't think that there'd be that big of a difference, but there is. It's huge. And you know, like I said, my opinion's biased, and I say that the hell with those standards. A biomed, we all start out nowhere. Okay, like we all get that garbage position where you're just doing garbage stuff. I did it for years. I'm sure many of you guys have done that. It's just the way life works. You start at the bottom and you work your way up. We are no different than that. And so many of these people are going to be retiring. We got to fill those gaps. Okay, a lot of those people can't compensate with the way technology is moving. We need people that are more IT type minded. Okay, you're willing and capable of changing quickly. Now, a lot of older guys, they don't change so quickly. That's just a fact. It's just the way it is. A lot of them are resistant to change. And guess what? If you guys haven't noticed, we're in a changing type of world right now. This place, I will go in tomorrow. I'm going to read my emails and something is going to be different than what it was today. Guaranteed. So the career field is moving more towards IT, guaranteed. And there's going to be a lot more positions opening up. So what are these positions going to be? What are they going to be doing? I don't know. I would like to think that we start a whole another sub career field where it's biomedical networking. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. So if you guys don't like repairing stuff so much, but you like computers, man, go for it. Start studying up on biomed, but at the same time, start obtaining those computer certs like Security Plus, A Plus, etc. Those jobs are going to happen, guaranteed, and it's going to be awesome when they do. FreeBSD, man, I still use FreeBSD on some stuff, man. I should, for real. Wage correction. So here's the other part of your question, Ryan. Yes, we are going to go through a wage correction. The more people that can do a job, the lower the wages are going to be. That's how it is for every career field out there. And that's one of the reasons why I started this channel. Guys, I am here because I am trying to figure out what's happening. I believe that people should be fixing shit. Okay, we should not be shipping stuff out to the manufacturer for every little thing. That's why I have gone through and I've cracked manufacturer codes. That's why I have gone through the work of training people on every single little thing that's going on out there. We should know our equipment. We should know componentry. We should be better technicians than what we currently are. Me, you, everybody. And it's something I'm very extremely passionate about, because the lower your expectations as a technician, the lower your wages. And it's going to happen. We've got all these third-party companies that are coming in and they're driving down the labor costs. They're going to do it. Meanwhile, they're forcing the amount of work per technician up. So it's up to you and me to develop yourselves as a professional to be the best at what you can do. That's why I started this channel. This channel is documenting me and all the different stuff that I had to learn to be where I'm at today. I'm learning shit every single day, for real. I didn't know about this power switch. I knew kind of what was going on in it, but I didn't know about it until today, and I had to do my research to figure out why the new power switch I installed was failing. So guys, every single day I'm trying to learn, because I am trying to maintain a standard, and I hope you guys do too. The wages, I see the wages going down. I don't know why. The more technicians want to ship stuff out for every little thing, want to ship to third party or whatever, expect the wages to go down. Try and set yourselves apart. Matthew, high-risk devices. Defibs. Well, I'll tell you, Matt, defibs, I consider defibs to be, in general, a Biomed 1 type of item. They really are. I should draw out like a hierarchy of what I consider to be a Biomed 1, Biomed 2, Biomed 3 type of stuff. So right now I'm doing laboratories, all right? And I'm not doing that by my choice, all right? It's because I pissed off some managers. And because I pissed off some managers because I would not do something because of a patient safety issue, that's why I'm no longer in charge of my team of operating rooms. But anyway, I do think that there's certain stuff that Biomed 1s, 2s, and 3s should be doing. I'm currently working mainly on centrifuges and other stuff. In my opinion, a lot of that stuff is Biomed 2 stuff, okay? So Biomed 2s, I think, should do stuff that's slightly more complicated and less generic. Okay, Biomed 3s, I should be able to take a Biomed 3 and give them part of the Biomed program and they run it. That would be like your schedule, your on-call schedule, your holiday schedule, your recycling program for batteries, let's say your consumables to maintain your stock, your supply levels. I mean, there's so many different aspects. Recalls, your lockout tagout system. I mean, there's certain aspects that I think Biomed 3 should maintain because they're at that level, right? You should own part of the Biomed program at a Biomed 3 level. And I'm extremely passionate about that because I can't tell you how many Biomed 3s I know out there that don't do shit. Okay? Um, boy, that's a very complicated question. I'd like to answer that better in another video. High-risk devices. Certain high-risk devices are worth it. Some of them are not. In my opinion, ventilators, etc., historically have not been worth it. I don't want to sit at my desk and do ventilators all day long. There's no rush. There's no challenge, in my opinion. It's just, you know, like assembly all day. It's kind of boring, in my opinion. But now, because of COVID, ventilator guys are making premiums. I mean, premiums. Those guys, pick your price type of stuff. Pick your price. Tomorrow's going to be the last day that I work with my ventilator guy. And that is a true shame. He's going on to do IT from now, and I don't blame him. It's safer for him and his family. But I'm going to miss him, man. There's some people that you just run into that are just awesome people, and you would love to maintain working relationships with. And this dude's going on to bigger and better things. And unfortunately, tomorrow's my last day with this Biomed, but that's a high-risk device, and historically, it just hasn't been worth it until now. So just to let you guys know, ventilators and anesthesia machines are generally, I don't know, Biomed 2, Biomed 3, but you're kind of working yourself into a niche. Sadly, I think I've come to realize that I've worked myself into a niche, guys. I am starting to think that because I've specialized in surgical, I have now completely limited myself. All of these years, I've had CT training, I've had ultrasound training, I've done stuff with video and sound integration stuff, all sorts of stuff, man. But because I've never really explored that, because people always want to stick me in operating rooms, I come to find out that there's a lot of jobs that I'll never have a chance at, unfortunately. However trainable you are, for whatever reason, like I just will not qualify for some of these jobs. Man, I would love it. Keep pressing forward with your own education and learn about stuff independently. And every once in a while, suggest training to your manager, whoever your manager is, okay? Just suggest to them whatever direction you want to take, okay? Let's see. About IPC. Riley, what's IPC certs? Hold on. What the hell's an IPC cert? What is that? I don't even know what that is, man. What's IPC? Riley, are you Canadian? I grew up next to Canada, so I'm that's why I keep ragging on them. What's IPC? Sorry, guys, I'm looking this up because I didn't know what the heck it was. Oh, no kidding. I probably should have known that. Thank you, Riley. Now I'm going to have to devote an hour or so to reading to figure out what IPC certs are. Normally, no, they're not for us. No. Just one moment. Hold on, guys. I'm taking a commercial break here. Let's see. Would I choose IT over electrical engineering degree? for us young guys who got into the field. Craig, let me tell you, IT is a very competitive career field, okay? There's no way around it. But you have to specialize, like in biomed, you have to specialize. Why am I sitting so short? There we go. It's a little better. Biomed is a lot like IT. If you just do the generic job, there are hundreds of people that can do the same job as you. You have to specialize. You develop who you are as a professional. If you go into IT and you want to make the big bucks, learn about things like PACS management, picture archiving system. Learn about medical networking. There's not so many people that do that. If you want to be a biomed and you want to make lots of money, I mean, you have to learn about stuff that a lot of other people aren't willing to do. And it's not an easy answer, man. It really isn't. It depends on what you like to do. I like fixing things, man. I like fixing things. IT guys, to sit there and remote into somebody's desktop and just switch the resolution settings or something, man, that's not me. One of the reasons I love operating rooms is because you never know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. I solve this problem that I'm dealing with and I get it out of my plate. Like I close the work order, whatever, and I prepare my shop, I prepare my tool bag and everything, because you never know what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. And sometimes like the world just falls apart in 5 minutes. It really does happen when you're doing surgical, especially at a trauma center like where I'm at. It's such a huge place. But what I'm currently doing, laboratories, I mean, there's no patient on the table. It's not a huge emergency. Oh my gosh, your physical therapy appointment might have to be delayed. You know, so there are certain things that I think are Biomed 3, Biomed 2 type things, and laboratories and physical therapy are like a Biomed 2 thing. And I'm not above anything. I'll do whatever they want me to do. I just think it's a waste. It's a waste, man. I wish I could show you guys what it looked like. I went through my old shop. I don't know if I showed you guys what my shop normally looks like. I normally kept a minimal amount of equipment in my shop. Minimal. I mean, as far as medical equipment, like maybe 10 to 12 items on average in my shop in different stages of repair. I never kept stuff just sitting on shelves just because I didn't want to deal with it. Never, never, never. Now, I'll tell you right now, my PM average, my preventive maintenance average, might have suffered a few times because I was more concentrated on repairs, but my repairs were always handled. They never had to cancel cases. The staff always had their equipment, and I did it for minimal cost. Now, here's a true story, guys. My manager brought me in during the meeting, and he looked at me and he said, "What's going on up there, man?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You're fixing things." And I know you are. Your customers seem to be very happy. But what I'm not seeing is the amount of purchase orders that I should be seeing. I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You guys have the least amount of PO requests out of all the other departments of Biomed." I said, "Really? So what you're telling me is my customers are happy. I'm not ordering parts or sending stuff out for repairs like everybody else. And my shop is empty, so I'm obviously not just storing stuff on shelves. I don't see what the problem is." He said, "I don't think that you should be board level repairing everything and taking like 4 or 5 hours to fix something." I looked at him a little confused because at the moment that he said that, I had never accumulated 3 or 4 hours on any single work order ever. I'm an in and out type of guy, man. In and out type of guy. I will bring something in, you solve the problem, you order your parts or you don't order your parts, get stuff in, I'd run to an OR, or as I said in other videos, I would solve problems before they even became problems because I do something called constant rounding, which means if I don't have any current work, I would get my tool cart or whatever, and we would go out and we'd start doing rounds. And if you see something that's jacked up, you go and you solve the problem before your users even know it's a problem. So while you might not have work orders for every single stupid little thing, you have a lot less repairs because you solve the problems, you know, when the ORs were shut down or whenever. And so yeah, my boss actually had that conversation with me. He told me that I know you're fixing things, but you know, you're not creating the amount of POs that everybody else is. So what's going on? It's a complicated career field, guys. It really is. You're right, Riley. And if you're going to get into aeronautical electronics, you are absolutely right. Then you need those soldering type of certs. But nope, not for biomed. Most biomed places actually frown on you repairing things. That's the truth. Yeah, I have so many stories about that, and I don't want to trounce on anybody, but I have been told many times that I'm fixing too many things and we should be sending stuff out. I had a manager that told me that if you can't fix it within 1 hour, you need to ship it out. 1 hour? Is that, you know, diagnostics and repair? Are you kidding me? What is this? A blood pressure cuff? I mean, what are you fixing in 1 hour? That's, I mean, guys, if you've seen how fast I troubleshoot stuff and how fast I fix things, it's fast. I've never taken hours on end just farming a work order like they claim. But it's such a complicated thing right now for me. Jeez, Bjorn. Oh my gosh. Yeah, coroner. Jeez. What you mean, Angela? I would love to elaborate on that. What do you mean? Has anyone ever explained the logic behind that concept? The concept of not fixing things and shipping stuff out? I don't know. I can tell you one thing's for sure is the two things that because I'm a hospital employee, I have two goals. You have patient safety, obviously, and you are there to save the hospital money. But there's another one that a lot of people don't really comprehend, which is downtime. Okay, so patient safety is number one. It's number one priority, and that's why I'm no longer, you know, in charge of the operating rooms, because I made it a firm point that this is very important to me. A lot of people say like patient safety. It's a lie. I'm telling you right now, from experience, and a lot of you other guys that have been biomeds for years, you know it's a lie. That people will press on, even though, you know, they say, hey, if it's a patient safety issue, just, hey, mention it and we'll stop what we're doing. They don't stop. The operating rooms don't stop. Doctors don't stop. They get pissed when they have to stop. If anything, they try and shove stuff under the rug. A lot of people do. And that includes sometimes biomed management. A lot of stuff happens, man. But so let's cut it down to save time and save money. And that's what I do. I fix stuff, will save time. I can have it. I've had doctors, I don't know if you that are listening have heard this. I have said before that I have had doctors run stuff into my room while they're mid-surgery. They stop a like neurosurgery case and they have a foot control that got sheared off in mid-case. They need the foot control to finish the case. I sit there and I rewire the foot control from scratch in 10 minutes while the doctor's standing right over my back watching me do it. And then he takes the foot control and he finishes his case. Now, if I wasn't good at soldering, if I wasn't good at making things like pinout charts, that never would have happened. Never would have happened. But you never know what you're going to run into. And that's why I always try and stay prepared for everything. So repairs being too long, my repairs don't take too long. You know, and for the junior biomeds that I work with, I let their repairs take too long, you know, in that respect. I give them a task and I don't babysit. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? I will let them start taking avenues and running into roadblocks, And then every once in a while, I'll step in and I'll be like, hey, man, what you doing? What's going on? and I'll try and get a grasp of what's going on in their head, and then I'll try and guide them on the right path from there. But I never like micromanage their troubleshooting development, because that's something that we have to develop as a person on our own. So that's just me, and I don't know, Angela. It's an interesting question. It really is. Riley, most of my repairs, I have easily upper 90 percentile first look, first repair in probably 10-15 minutes. 10 to 15 minutes, in and out, get it solved, press on to the next thing. That's easily is 90% of my cases. And obviously that has changed when I went into laboratory, because I don't like opening up stuff in the laboratory. Laboratory is a very dirty environment. Everything's dirty in my opinion. And I like to take the item, seclude things dirty in my opinion. And I like to take the item, seclude it to my shop, wipe it down, clean it, then open it up and take my time. But with operating rooms, sometimes like you walk into a room, you got like 4 or 5 doctors staring at you. Like, what's going on? Hey, how do we get this fixed? It happens all the time, man. And that's one of those things that you can only develop from doing it, and doing it many times, is that ability to just ignore everything else in the room and focus on what's going on. And talking to people, communication. I brought that up earlier. So usually repairs are just in and out in just minutes, just as quick as can be. And I don't know about you guys, but a vast majority of repairs seem to be user errors. I'd say probably easy 60-70% are user error. Like they're doing something wrong, they plumb something incorrectly, they expect the unit to do something when it wasn't designed to do it, stuff like that. But oh my gosh, guys. Oh, you guys, this is my longest running video ever. Do I ever feel rushed? Riley, I've felt rushed by colleagues. I've felt rushed by doctors, surgeons. I've felt rushed by nurses. Nurses are some of the worst. Every single day I am rushed to do something. And it is it's something that we have to deal with. And in so many ways, maybe it's because I was a biomed during the war that I just appreciate the stress. And when people freeze and people just don't know what the hell they're going to do next, I just love that. I come in and I have that moment of clarity when everybody else just kind of shakes and they don't know what to do. That's when I shine, man. I love when the shit hits the fan, per se. I just shine at that moment. And that's something that I suggest you guys develop, is like put yourself out there on a limb and then either fail or succeed. And if you fail, who cares? Just do what you can and do it the right way. And if you fail, somebody will be there to back you up, I hope. The Joint Commission. Oh my gosh. Angela, the Joint Commission. You're bringing that up. That's taboo. We don't say that. The Joint Commission. I got Joint Commission in just a few months. That's a very complex thing. Okay, Angela, the Joint Commission, yes. I have interacted with them directly. What I can tell you is that when they ask about something, here's the thing. When Joint Commission comes through your hospital, they will walk through. I'm going to use a stack of wood as my case point. So they're going to go through, and they know very specific facts about certain items. They know that heater coolers or water baths, they know that you're supposed to sanitize them every 2 weeks. They know that. They know that X-ray equipment has a certain form that you fill out for the FDA. They want to see those. They know that equipment has stickers on them that's expired or not expired. Joint Commission people with the medical equipment program are normally very simple. Joint Commission, if you're watching this, please hire me. We will go out there and we will beat this up. You and me, I will be your guy, and we will go out and I will find all the problems with people's medical equipment management plan. Because usually Joint Commission doesn't know what they're doing with the equipment. They know certain things. That's it. Meanwhile, all this other stuff they're ignoring. When Joint Commission comes into your hospital, normally they want to see training folders. They normally want to see some very generic things. They'll go through and they'll look at like stickers on items. That's why I always say, if you have stuff that's predictable, get rid of it. Solve those problems, which would be like expired stickers. Since a lot of hospitals use different colored stickers for different years, let's say last year was blue. So you got blue, blue, and red. And then we got one yellow. Yellow is from 2 years ago. Joint Commission is going to figure that out, all right? And they're going to walk through some areas like ICUs, maybe some laboratories. And when they see that yellow sticker, once they start, they find something, they start digging, okay? Joint Commission, that's the way they work. Normally, they'll just walk on through. You know, people just escort Joint Commission through. When Joint Commission finds one problem, then they start digging, okay? And you don't want to be the guy that they're digging against, all right? Joint Commission, if you're watching this, I'm serious about hooking me up with a job. We will fix this problem because Joint Commission people normally don't know what they're doing when it comes to equipment management plans. They just don't know what the Biomed program is. They don't know how to inspect it. They just, I don't know, man. But Joint Commission, everybody fears them. And the thing is, just do what you're supposed to be doing, do it correctly, and don't just start doing it the week before they get there, all right? Document your work and make sure that all your stickers are updated. If that means you have a sticker that's outdated, either fix it or rip that damn sticker off. It's better to have an item without a sticker than to have an item with an expired sticker. Because once they start seeing the wrong color stickers, then they start digging, okay? Yeah, and I could go on and on about Joint Commission, but Joint Commission is it's a sensitive subject. I talk about it with my colleagues. It seems like nobody's worried about it. One of the other things you got to worry about, Angela, they might talk about Joint Commission. To be honest, the hell with Joint Commission. That's easy. CAP inspections, laboratories. If you're doing laboratories and you have CAP inspections, if you're doing dialysis, and Department of Health will come in instantly with dialysis. They'll just walk through, show a badge, and they start looking at your equipment. No notice. They just walk in one day. There's certain areas that are much more sensitive than you know, generic JACO inspections. But CAP inspections for laboratories, those are intense. You have to make sure everything's documented, sometimes in duplicate, sometimes triplicate. Make sure that everybody is trained up on the device that they're using. You as Biomed, make sure that you write down your temperatures. Man, I haven't had to deal with centrifuges or freezers or anything in a long time. And I had to get back in the swing of things. So after I complete a work order and I write out every single thing that I see, let's say a freezer. On a freezer, you have, let's say you have a chart recorder. I write that temperature down. I have the temperature on the display. There's an integral thermometer, which is usually an alcohol bottle with a thermometer in it or a glycerin. That's inside the freezer. I write down that temperature on my work order. I write down the upper temperature, the lower temperature. If it's a long freezer or refrigerator, I write down the right, upper, lower temperature. You know, and you write all these temperatures down. You make sure that they're all within spec. Because CAP inspections through laboratories are way more strict than they ever are with JACO. So JACO's okay. CAP inspections are a nightmare. Angela, inspections are just one of the things that we as biomeds We just, it's part of life. And the thing is, if you're doing the right thing, you shouldn't be worried. Problem is a vast majority of the time, a lot of guys aren't doing the right thing, and that's a fact. And I mean, we all see it. Every single biomed that's out there, all you guys that are watching this, we all know. Y'all know when somebody is like walking around doing PMs and all they have is like stickers in one hand and a sheet of printed paper in the other hand. We all know that. You know they're not doing something right. So I should do a whole nother video on inspections because I am gonna undertake some inspections in less than a month. That's a sensitive subject lately because a lot of my laboratories were due back in July and they're currently due. And I think in some weird way I'm being screwed into it. Anyway, more to come on that. But inspections they're a part of life, man. Do the right thing. When in doubt, write an email. Write an email to your biomed manager. I had to do it just the other day. I had to write an email to my manager that said, hey, these laboratories, they're due back in July. I just took over this account 2 weeks ago, by the way. I said, hey, these laboratories were due back in July. What's the plan for getting them completed before the cap inspection in January? Crickets. But that's okay, because I saved that email. I'm a type of guy that likes a plan. If I were to say, I want people to come in late at night, or I want you all to come in on the weekend, I'll do it. I'll do it this weekend. I'll do it right now. Matter of fact, I'll go to work right now. But the thing is like, if the boss doesn't have a plan and he doesn't want me to come up with a plan because he doesn't want to pay for overtime or something, what do? Save your email. That's all I can say. I'll definitely do a video on inspections very soon. Very soon, because I got some inspections coming up. And I have been through, Jesus, how many JACOs? 6. I've been through 6 or 7 JACO inspections. I've been through 3 or 4 AAAHC. That's another entity. I've been 1 DMV inspection, and I've been through numerous cap inspections, numerous. So I know what it's like, man. Nothing is more intimidating though than when lawyers come through. The hell with inspections, guys. Inspections are nothing. Lawyers are what you got to worry about, guys. Lawyers will come through one day and they will say, show me all the history on this device right here. And you are legally obligated to give them everything related to that device and all the devices around it if they ask for it. And the problem is you have to make sure that every single thing that you documented historically throughout the history for that device is up to snuff. Because if it's not, the lawyers will eat you alive. I've been there too. Guys, I think I have talked a lot tonight. You guys just got me. I started out this video just wanting to talk about switches and stuff like that. And look at you guys started asking questions. You got me on a ramble, and I don't know, 3 or 4 shots of rum later, and here I am just still talking hours later. Man, I love this. I love talking to you guys, man. I think though, oh shoot, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Have I ever worked? I've worked with dialysis. I've not worked for the dialysis. Mind you guys, there's certain biomed jobs that are going to be lower paying on average than other biomed jobs. Anesthesia biomeds do not get paid that much, contrary to what you think. Dialysis biomeds do not get paid that much. Normally, I would say guys that do ventilators do not get paid that much as biomeds compared to other guys. So I have not worked for a dialysis clinic. They are low-paying jobs generally. I would avoid those. If you guys are looking for jobs and you're curious, I'm on the verge of setting up a forum where we can discuss job postings and people that are willing to work and what areas you're willing to work for. I'm working with that. I'm working with a company that is being very forward on biomed issues. a lot of this is just eating up time, guys, and I wish I could develop it a little bit faster. But obviously, with COVID, with these guys, they're doing their own thing, and it's going to happen. We're going to create a forum where we can discuss this stuff more openly and more formally, where people, if you say that you'd like an imaging job, you can create a posting and you will post your stuff, and somebody somewhere is going to read about it. You say, hey, this is my job history, this is what I'd like to get into, and people will reach out to you, whether it's a recruiter, whether it's a company, whatever. We're working on that, guys, and it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time, man. Hey, Gage, welcome to Better Biomed. Hey, man, where are you coming from? I know where lots of these other people are coming from. Where are you coming from, Gage? Where are you coming from, Angela? You just popped up out of nowhere. Where are you coming from? Dentistry equipment. Dentistry is generally a Biomed 1 or Biomed 2 situation, in my opinion. And a lot of people treat that way too. Ohio! All right. More power to you, man. Hell yeah. Good on you. I was a biomed in the military for 9.5 years. Loved it. Riley, are you in Texas? For some weird reason, I think you're in Texas. Externship with GE. All right. GE has been picking up people straight from the military, and they've been very good about it. And every single person that I know that has gone that route has done very well for themselves. Good on you. Stay tuned. New Jersey. Riley, New Jersey. Okay. All right. Man, it's the middle of the night. You're sitting here listening to me for half the night? Whew. I wouldn't listen to me for 30 minutes. All the way from the islands. Angela, you're from the islands? Which islands? Now I'm getting all stressed out, and people are watching me from all around the world. That's true. Guys, I'm a small town guy. That's the truth. Bjorn, I'll tell you what. I back up all my emails to my Google Drive. I keep a Google Drive for my biomed stuff in general, like training documents, for photos of equipment that is jacked up, for emails. I keep a Google Drive. I can ship stuff out to people instantly. Angela, you're in the Bahamas. Girl, I am so coming to visit you. I would love to come to the Bahamas. Oh my gosh. After this year, I need a vacation. Oh, don't talk about preparing equipment alongside the beach. Naughty. I would love that. I love the water. Growing up in Michigan, we are always around the water, although it's not salt water. Still growing up around boats, jet skis and stuff. And then I end up in Texas. There's not so much water here. So Riley, I will tell you right now, cbet.edu it's the real deal. That's all I can say. It's some serious work. I started the coursework on them, and unfortunately, I was expecting COVID to not be so bad as it is, and everybody I know that is currently a biomed is suffering because just people aren't filling positions, and it just sucks right now. So I had to put my account on hold with cbet.edu, and I'm going to go back to it probably next year, as soon as next year begins. Not that it's going to help me out academically, because I'm kind of capped out in pay, but I'm thinking that it would just be like one of those really good things to have. Just say you did it, a challenge, So cbet.edu is challenging, man, for real, and I highly suggest it. Oh, oh my gosh, I didn't know that they could delete your credentials like that, Bjorn. Oh my gosh, that's crazy talk. I could understand that though. They would do that. I've seen some crazy stuff with HR lately and what they can do. But anyway, guys, I think, unfortunately, oh my gosh, it's 2 hours and 40 minutes later. You all have been listening to me talk for that long. This is crazy talk. I wouldn't even listen to me for 20 minutes. That's the truth. Anyway, I was expecting this to be like a 20-minute long video, and here we are several hours later. And here I am talking to you guys still. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I love talking with you guys from all around the world. This is crazy. Angela, you enjoy those beaches. You naughty girl. Gage, enjoy Ohio. It's probably cold as hell up there. Down here in Houston, I think it was like 40 degrees this morning, and that was enough for me, right? I grew up in Michigan, so I can handle it, but seriously, 40 degrees. Weekly Q&A. You know something? You guys tell me what would be a good time for me to set up these kind of videos, because I would like to set up a very, very strategic time for me to sit down and talk with you guys, because I don't know, this is just such an entertaining way of doing videos. I don't have to think as hard as I normally do. Man, when I normally script out a video, I do a hell of a lot of research on something, and then I try and present it to you guys all in one take, which doesn't always happen. This is such an easier way for me to communicate with people, and there's so much other stuff. What is this? Internet, what are you doing to me? Angela, what is that graphic? Anyway, guys, you guys write me. Tell me what you guys think, what a good time would be. I would love to set up a time where we, as a community, can get together and maybe go over some of the stuff that's happening. Because believe it or not, our career field is changing, like, I would say almost daily. It is. There's times where nobody was hiring. Now a lot of people are hiring. Now, I mean, hospitals are going third party. There's so much stuff that's going on right now. I would love to sit down and chat with you guys on routine. Just come up with a time. Tell me when it would work out really well with y'all, and I'll see what I can do to make that happen. All right. Until then, you guys are gonna have a very good night, because I have creature 1 and creature 2 to go to put to bed. All right. So thank you all for watching very much. I am extremely humbled that you guys even listen to me. I look forward to talking to you all very soon. Thanks, guys.